Well, my A weekend has been very, very interesting. To get started, I took Friday off because my initial plan, like I've explained, was to get my dental work done, get my quote for my LASIK, and then do my emissions test on my car. But the problem with my AC had gotten so bad that I decided to devote my entire day to that, which ended up really taking place the following day, but I'll get to that. So I was swapping out fuses pretty much once a day on this vehicle to get the AC rolling. And then that Friday, I had to swap it out like 3 times within the same like 2-hour period. And I was like, this is getting worse. This has to be taken care of. So I called around and went to a couple places, and nobody could fit me in because they were backed up. They had a bunch of jobs already, yada yada. And so I was like, well, shit. One of the places I called was like, yeah, pretty much the same spiel as everyone else. Yeah, we're backed up for pretty much the whole day, but I can schedule you for next week. So in my head, I'm like, this is as good as it's gonna get. I'm gonna have to survive a whole week, probably without AC. Could be fun. Probably not. So during the phone conversation, I pretty much had to divulge the information that I live in my car, which is something that I try not to advertise for 2 reasons. One is I don't want people's pity or their charity. And 2, I don't want to broadcast that information because someone who's more of a smart criminal or a career criminal could use that information to select you as a victim. Because if you're living in your car, they know all of your valuables are in your car, and there's going to be a certain point of time where you're asleep in your vehicle, and it's just easier to target you. Got to maintain operational security. So I had to divulge that information because he's like, why don't you just go ahead and drop the car off today, and I can diagnose it for you, and then we can set up for something for next week. And I was like, well, the issue is that I live in my car and all my stuff's in here, and if I leave you my car for several hours, I'm gonna have nothing to do. We got to the end of the conversation and said, all right, we'll set up a date next week where we'll diagnose your car and we'll fix it. I accepted my fate. All right. Then about 10 minutes later, he calls me back and he says, hey, I called around at a few different locations, and one of my stores in Wheaton can diagnose and fix the car tomorrow. And I was like, oh, thank God. Like, finally, somebody with a heart. So, yeah, I woke up, went there at open at 8 a.m., and the entire time on my mind, I'm just like, I'm about to eat into my savings, like, super hard. And I did. So on the drive into town, I'm going down Main Street, and I'm just driving, and I look over, and there's this old building with a sign out front, and it's the Theosophical Society. And if you don't know what theosophy is, it's basically a community of people who rigorously study comparative religion, philosophy, and material sciences, and they try to see where those things interlap to create a more holistic theory of how the universe operates. And it's one of my very specific niche interests that you've probably never heard me talk about unless you're Derek or you're around me and Derek, because just no one knows about it. It's impossible for me to bring this up and have anyone like have any genuine input to put into it, because the material itself is so abstract and so dense that it's really hard for people to follow along if you haven't been setting time aside to actually study the material itself. And I didn't even know that lodges existed for this, you know? So when I saw that, I was like, Wow. That's crazy. I'm going to go check that out. So I texted Derek immediately and was like, there's a Theosophical Society here. I'm going to go check it out. And I looked up their hours on their website, and they weren't accepting visitors until 2. And it's 8 in the morning, and I'm getting my car worked on. So I was like, all right, well, I'll put that on the back burner for later. So I take my car in. They diagnose it. I was right. It was the clutch on the AC compressor burned out. What happens is, over time, with the constant expansion of the metal of the clutch under heat, because metal expands when it's heated up, it'll wear down on parts of it to where when it heats up again, eventually, it'll make contact and it'll ground itself and it'll discharge and create a short circuit. And that's what's been burning out my fuses. So I was right. I probably still wouldn't have fixed it myself. So they quoted me $1,500. Fuck. But I was like, all right, well, yeah, let's do it. It's like no other choice, right? So while they're working on it, I walk about a mile or 2 into town, just down Main Street and into downtown Wheaton. And I check out this place to eat called Suzette's Creperie, which is like it's a French place. And I had the best croque monsieur that I've ever fucking had. And I've never really been a fan of French onion soup, but they had a French onion soup that was phenomenal. Miles better than any French onion soup that I've made at any restaurant I've worked at. So that place was awesome. And then on my way out, I got a beignet as well for the walk, which was amazing. Because you can't go to a French place and not get a pastry that they make in-house. Like, that's just, to not do that would be blasphemy, right? And then on my walk, I'm listening to a biography of Jacques Derrida, which is he's a French philosopher. A lot of people place him into the category of post-structuralism, although he disagrees with that categorization. So, French philosophy, French food. My day's getting a little better. And then on the walk back, I notice that there's a music school that I'm walking right by. And I'm like, hey, I've been looking for vocal lessons. They're open right now. Let's go in and talk to them, right? So I walk in, and there's this lady there talking to somebody, and her dog's there, and I start petting the dog. It seems to be mostly kid-oriented, like it's lessons for children, which I guess makes sense. But they do adults too. And then I'm talking to her, and she's a piano instructor or a flute instructor or something. And I was telling her, hey, I'm only available on weekends. I've been looking for a vocal teacher. And then somebody walks in the door, and he's the guy that I need to talk to. Just out of happenstance, like coincidentally, he just walks in. And not only that, but it is his last day there, and he's moving to New York to finish his doctoral dissertation on music composition. So he brings me into his office, and he goes through the schedule, and he's like, well, we have Tuesdays, we have Thursdays. I'm only available on weekends. He said, we don't have anyone on payroll right now to do weekends. And I was like, well, I assume that you have some sort of a broad network of people that you work with and work around to where you can give me a list of recommendations of people that work out of their house, possibly. And he's like, yeah, give me your email and I'll send you that information. So I give him my email, and then he emails me later. And apparently the school is going to hire someone on the weekends, and they were asking me what my weekend availability was so they could find someone that specifically catered to my schedule. It's like king treatment, right? So, long story short, it seems like I went into this whole experience a little upset with the fact that I was about to blow a bunch of money on my AC compressor. But the experience itself led me to one of the best restaurants I've ever been to. Finding a music school to take vocal lessons at after those 5 people I messaged on Facebook never messaged me back. And then I also got to discover the Theosophical Society in Wheaton, Illinois. Apparently it's the first lodge that was established in the United States in the early 1900s. Wild. So when my car was fixed, AC's fixed, I'm feeling good. Finally, that shit's taken care of, right? I don't have to worry about it anymore. I have still a few more hours before they start accepting visitors at the Theosophical Society. So I go to a public library, I take a nap in the parking lot. That's what I do. And then when I wake up and I go, walk in the front door and talk to the sweet lady who's been working there for 20 years. And she's like, well, they're at the tail end of the tour if you just want to walk up there and just integrate. So that's what I did. And I didn't get to see the beginning of the tour, which is unfortunate, but the end of the tour was especially interesting because they had a portrait of Helena Blavatsky, which is the founder of the movement, and she's like a Russian oligarch that was a esotericist. And a lot of Western esotericism and philosophic thought comes downstream from her ideology. They have a portrait of her that was painted by none other than the same dude who sculpted Mount Rushmore and installed the light in the Statue of Liberty, because he used to travel around with her like a couple years before she died, apparently. Which is insane. And then they also had a letter from the Dalai Lama, hand signed and everything, because they had invited him to stay there when he was visiting for the World Fair. That was super cool. They have a library there, bunch of books. They have a bookstore that I went to. I picked up a copy of Ride the Tiger by Julius Evola. I think I already own it, but I don't know where it is. I might have lent it to someone. That's what I do, is I lend out Julius Evola books, and then I never get them back. I think Colby has my copy of Metaphysics of War, and Ray has my copy of Revolt Against the Modern World. And neither one of them have read a single sentence, I guarantee it. Oh well. I have all of his work on PDF anyway. And then I picked up a new tarot deck and a box to keep it in. That's all that I got there. And I also got somebody's information that I emailed just before I started recording this video about volunteering, you know, getting volunteer hours, because I don't know, just walking the grounds, it feels like God is there. You know, you get that otherworldly sensation when you go to like a beautiful cathedral, except this place is more like almost like a seminary, where it feels not only religious but like deeply intellectual. So any time that I can spend there, I'm gonna anything that I can do to contribute to that community, I feel like is something that I really want to do while I'm here, at the very least. And then even if they can't find volunteer hours for me, I plan on going back and using their library to study in. Probably not only my Spanish, but I've been working my way through a lot of French postmodernism, some psychoanalysis like Jacques Lacan, and a lot of what are called neo-Marxists, like or critical theorists. Like the other day I was listening to 3 or 4 different discussions or lectures about Dialectic of Enlightenment by Theodor Adorno and Max Horkheimer, because I don't discriminate left wing, right wing. I like it all. I like reading it all. I like understanding how all of these ideas contribute to our social and cultural experience that we're having now. Started off the day upset. Probably one of the best days I've had here, if not the best day that I've had here. After that whole experience, I went to a place called Agostino's Rock and Roll Deli, I think it was called. And this is very much a place that you would like, Dad. There's Beatles memorabilia all over the walls. The bathrooms had, I think it was Popeye and olive oil. And then they had an emergency exit door that had the Three Stooges on it. And I was like, this whole place just reeks of my father. And then I went and finally got my RFID tag for my new gym. So today when I go take my last shower for the weekend, I'm probably going to go ahead and cancel my Planet Fitness now that I have a gym I can go to 24 hours on the weekend. Speaking of that, I got a few things at Walmart just now and on Amazon. One of them is this. It's for exercising your neck. You basically strap it onto your head and then attach like a plate onto it and then do neck exercises. You look kind of ridiculous while you're doing it, but your neck is actually one of the most important muscles to work out because it supports your head, obviously, and it grows a lot faster than every other muscle. So don't be surprised if you see me with like a wide neck next time you see me in person. And then I was thinking, like, if I'm only going to have 2 days to work out on the weekend, am I really going to be making as much progress as I want? Probably not. How can I make my life more stressful? Why don't I spend all of my breaks working out? So I got a kettlebell, just a 35-pounder. If it ends up not being enough weight, I'm planning on making these exercises I do on my break more high reps anyway, and for muscular endurance. And then I also got these for push-ups and for L-sits. So I have 3 breaks on my third shift job that I'm just going to be working out during. I'm probably going to start wearing shorts to that job because, one, it's hot as fuck in that warehouse, and even though I got these joggers, they're not very breathable. I did end up getting another one of those fans because the one I had, the clip broke. But now that I have it, I'm thinking, well, if I'm going to be working out, I should just wear shorts anyway. And if it ends up being the case that I'm wearing shorts during that shift, I'm not so sure that I'm going to have a strong enough of a waistband for this to clip onto and to stay in place. But I'll try it out. I'll try working out in these joggers, but I don't see that being fortuitous at all. So I got that going. So that is 5 endurance workouts a day. And then on the weekend, I'm going to do strength training. So I'm super excited to get back into doing that. Especially since I'm not drinking or anything right now. So I'm already cutting out calories and building mental discipline and not spending money now that I'm damn near back to where I started with the repairs to the AC compressor, the repairs to the hood fiasco of last week, the concert tickets that I got me and my brothers, and the remote start that I got installed on my vehicle. But the good news is that I probably won't have to spend any more money on this vehicle as long as I have it, except for I'm still going to try to install that inverter so I don't have to carry a backpack inside into my job every day and charge my battery bank. I'll just keep the battery bank as an emergency thing. And then when I have the car running, I'll just run off the power of a second battery that I'm going to install back there so that I don't drain my starter battery. Which will also give me good practice for when I get the box truck. I'm going to have to install inverters and batteries and breakers and stuff like that anyway. So this is like a smaller project where I can start to wrap my head around how these things work and how to install them. Other than that, I just got this bag to keep my neck thing in, my neck exercising headgear, workout gloves. I got a couple bandanas to keep the sweat out of my eyes. My dear friend Mandy sent me some pictures from 8 years ago of me and her hanging out at a house party. And it's back in the day when I used to wear these as like a fashion statement. I would wear them all the time. I had a similar haircut, but I would grow my hair out on the top. And I was looking at those pictures and thinking, I could pull that off again. I really like the way that looks. And then I got this bag. It's like if you work in the food industry like Zach, it's a deposit bag. But what I'm gonna be using it for is to keep all of my nail care stuff in, because I don't know if it'll focus, but my nails are getting long, and I finally found a routine on how to keep them clean, and plus now I'm beginning to file them extensively and sandpaper them, and which is really I don't know, I like fidgeting with things. So I was watching a movie Friday night. I watched The Substance for the first time, which if you like Cronenberg films, you would love. Body horror is back. Mom, you wouldn't like it. Don't watch it. It's grotesque. While I was watching that movie, for like the last half of the movie, I just worked on my nails the whole time. And it's really relaxing to me. So I figured, instead of having just all of this stuff crowded right here, why don't I just get a bag to keep everything in? That way I can keep everything a little more organized. Plus I can take my nail clippers out of my shower bag, put them in here, because I'm not clipping my nails in the shower. And then I can, you know, reduce the amount of fumbling and searching through that bag when I'm showering. And then I can start to reduce the amount of stuff that I'm keeping here next to me at all times, stuff that I don't use, and keep it back in that bin, but keep it organized. And then, since I'm gonna be working out on the weekends, I was doing the math and figured I'm gonna need an extra towel, because I'm probably gonna need to start showering 3 times on the weekend, just with the way my schedule works. But maybe I'll be able to figure it out to where that won't be the case, but we'll see. You could probably tell I went and got my hair cut. I think I had been 3 weeks to that one. I hate when I go that long without a haircut. I drive all the way to South Chicago to see my guy, because he's the best there is. And he helps me with my Spanish. And I brought him a bottle of Aztec de Oro, which is a Mexican brandy that's really, really, really good. It's one of my favorite brandies, if not my favorite brandy proper. And the reason I make that distinction is like, technically a cognac or a rakia is a brandy, but I wouldn't refer to those things as brandy because they're their own distinct product. It's like Scotch versus whiskey. So I brought him a bottle of that. When I first met him, he told me that his daughter was bringing some back from Mexico, and he told me about it. And I was like, I really have to try this. And he's like, well, they don't sell it here. Well, I found 2 liquor stores here in Illinois that sell them, just out of happenstance. So I'm going to try to work out a deal where I can just bring him a bottle of that in exchange for a haircut. That way I don't have to pull cash out at an ATM and spend that fee. And I'll actually be saving a few bucks on how much money I'm giving him anyway. But I gave him this bottle for free because he's my boy, and I just felt like doing something nice. So last weekend I wasn't able to get online with my friends at all. So this weekend, to ensure that I had some time to spend with them and I didn't have to like go somewhere to charge all of my stuff and then have my batteries die in my car and have a limited amount of time with them. All right, so I'm just gonna spend some money and get a motel tonight. That way I have a place to sit down and I can have all of my stuff plugged in the entire time. Don't have to worry about it. Don't have to worry about sitting in a parking lot with all my electronics out, being cluttered around the car, you know, whatever. So I get a cheap motel because I'd already spent $1,500 on my AC compressor. I'm not gonna ball out on a fucking hotel or a motel. And this is the sketchiest motel I have ever been to. I pull into the parking lot, and I swear to God, there's like literally prostitutes just walking around in skimpy outfits, going in and out of taxi cabs. I was like, oh, all right, red flag immediately. There's like a bunch of hoodlum gangster looking dudes that are just sitting on the stairs that people need to get up to the second balcony where their rooms are. And it looks like they're just selling drugs. And I was like, all right. And then there's some people driving through the parking lot with other people just sitting on top of their car. It took 10 minutes for my shower to get hot. The place doesn't look that neat or clean. And then they don't even have Wi-Fi, which is like half the reason I went there to get online with my friends. And my cell service there was garbage. So I was like, all right, that's it. I'm not staying here. I'm probably not going to get my money back. But it would be more dangerous to stay there with all of my expensive shit in my room. And as I get everything into my car and lock it, and I'm walking back to the front desk with my key to say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and check out. I don't want to be here. There's a fucking, like a cop or an armed security guard with a gun on his hip, putting signs on the door that say they're not accepting any more people that night. And I was like, yeah, dude, fuck this place. And I left, and I went to IHOP's parking lot, and I just slept there. Or I got online there. Tune in next week, and maybe I'll wait a week or two, just so that I have a little bit more, spending cash, and I have a little bit more of a buffer. Because right now, I don't really pay attention to when all of my bills come out, because I don't have to worry about it, because I'm working so much, and I don't really have time to sit down and plan out my finances. I have everything on auto pay anyway. So I'll probably wait a couple weeks to do this, but it might be next week if I have the time to review my finances and see if I can afford to do it at the time. But I'm going to try to get that extra battery installed, the inverter installed, and everything, which will be hopefully the last addition that I make on the car until winter when I give it away to Kyle and I move into the box truck. Additionally, I also found a authorized U-Haul resale dealer, and they're selling vehicles around $11,000. They're a little old. They're like 2009, but my car is a 2006, and they have similar mileage, about 160,000 miles on it. But they have full service records of everything because it's a notable business. So they're a little over $11,000. I could probably talk them down to 10. So that's a little cheaper than what I was budgeting for, what I was expecting. Which reminds me. Which means even though with all these expenses, I'm probably on the exact same timeline that I was on, which is awesome. And not only that, but I think that I've decided that I'm actually going to get the loan so that I can build my credit. And then whatever I save on my initial $15,000 I was expecting, I'm just gonna pull out that same amount. I'm going to be pulling out $15,000 to get most of the materials that I need to outfit it with the solar system, like the inverters, the solar charger controllers, the solar panels themselves. I'm getting Starlink internet. Got to insulate the whole thing. Got to get a door so that I can access it through the cab. And then I got to get a diesel heater and some fans to circulate all the air, and some lights, obviously. That's the bare bones of what I can survive with. If I really wanted to, the bare bones to survive is insulation, the door, and the diesel heater, and then a small solar setup to just to run the heater. But I just need to get everything all at once. Get it knocked out down at Ryan's house. and then be ready to move everything into that. I still have to work out the logistics about how I'm going to be placing everything that's currently in my storage unit. I might have to downsize even further than what I have, but I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But yeah, we're still on the same timeline. 8 weeks, about 8 weeks. I will be in Lexington the 1st through the 7th. I took off that whole week. I'm off the Monday already for Labor Day. So I took off the 4 days at both my jobs, plus an additional day at my third shift job, so I didn't have to go to Ryan's wedding and then be hungover, driving 6 hours back to Chicago and then going straight into work. Don't want to fucking do that. And then the day before I leave for Lexington is the System of a Down concert that me, Jake, and Zach are going to. So it's going to be a super fun vacation. I haven't had a vacation in probably like 3 years, maybe. Like maybe 2, whenever Kelly got married out in San Diego. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I've also talked to an old friend, Jillian, Mom and Jake. You all will probably remember her. She worked with me at O'Charlie's. I like basically lived at her apartment with her like a whole summer. And me, her, and Adrian used to hang out all the time. But she's I don't think she's married, but she has a boyfriend and she has a kid now. Might be like 2 years old, 2 or 3. So I'm planning on going to visit her on my way from the System of a Down concert, and then spending and then spending Labor Day with her to meet her family and catch up with her, and then coming into Lexington and getting on into all of my Lexington shenanigans. Ryan's wedding's on Saturday. It's gonna be a blast. And then, yeah, it's gonna be a great vacation. But yeah, that's about all I have for you. I think now that I've sufficiently covered every topic that I possibly could. Every time I say that, something else pops up. Zach's garden is outgrowing him. Him and Carolyn sent me letters. Very thoughtful, very sweet. Zach's handwriting is better than mine. And Carolyn, I'm right on that precipice of age where they stopped teaching cursive extensively. So I can read this, but it took me a minute. I'm going to admit it. I need to get back into practicing my cursive, honestly, because I want to start writing letters. I think they even print these cards, and then on the envelope they do wax seals too. So they got the whole works going. But yeah, it's right up here with your last one. Which reminds me, if you have my number, send me a message. I'll give you my address. You can send me a picture of you, a letter. I keep them right here. And if things get difficult, I just read them. But with that being said, now that is everything. And even if I think of something else, I'm fucking stopping the video. Love you all. Goodbye.